garlic. For some, a mere whiff of the stuff is enough. For others, only fistfuls of pungent cloves will do. Hi, I'm Ben, and if you fall firmly into the latter camp like I do, this video is for you, my bad-breathed friend. Together, we're going to get on and plant these beauties and explore some tips for growing bigger, better bulbs every time. Right, so first things first. Garlic loves a sunny spot, and it likes soil that's quite rich and well drained, and that's important. You can improve it by adding a little compost beforehand, and I also like to add a well-balanced organic fertiliser. I'm using blood, fish and bone here, and I just add a sprinkling of that before planting time as well. Now, garlic doesn't like an acidic soil, so if your soil is a bit acidic, it's worth also adding some lime, or you could just use clean wood ash, and you can tell your soil's pH by using a simple pH test kit. There's nothing quite as satisfying as breaking apart the bulbs and planting those big juicy cloves. Now today I'm planting 3 types of softneck garlic. Softneck garlics I've chosen because they store for ages, well into the next growing season, and if you're really lucky, up to 12 months. They're usually ready a few weeks earlier as well, and they're great for braiding into things like garlic strings. The other option is hardnecks. Hardnecks form their cloves around a central flower stalk called a scape. Now, scapes are delicious in their own right, a real delicacy like asparagus, so you're kind of getting 2 crops for the price of 1 there. The cloves tend to be a bit bigger, and they tend to have a more complex flavour. They're also hardier too, so hardnecks are a good choice in cooler climates. I'm also planting today an elephant garlic. It's not a true garlic, these are just the cloves here, but it has a very mild garlicky taste, and it's grown in exactly the same way. The bulbs can get up to 6 inches or 15 centimetres in size. Absolute whoppers. You might be wondering about planting just grocery store or supermarket garlic. You can try, and I've had luck in the past, but you don't know how they've been treated. They might have some sort of growth inhibitor on them. They might be carrying disease, and they might be suitable for a different climate to yours. So prepare to be disappointed or pleasantly surprised. Now, while garlic loves the sunshine, it actually does need a period of chilling during the winter, and what that does is it helps tell the clove that it's time to form a bulb when the next growing season arrives. For that reason, the very best time to plant is in the autumn, and the sooner you can get the cloves into the ground, the better, because that'll give them more growing time to form bigger bulbs. Now, if winters are incredibly severe where you are, don't worry, you can plant them in early spring, so long as they get a few chillier weeks before the warmer weather arrives. Or you could start your garlic off in small pots or plug trays of potting mix to plant out once the ground is no longer frozen and wet. Right, I'm so excited to get started. This is one of my favourite jobs of the gardening year. So the first thing to say when planting garlic is don't break them apart until you're actually ready to plant, because the moment you do that, they start deteriorating. And whatever you do, please be careful when you do break them apart, because any damaged bulbs tend to kind of have a slightly shorter life, and that invites disease, and you don't want that. So here we go. There we are. So separate them all out first. Any cloves that are particularly small or a bit soft, they're a bit suspect. Leave those alone. They probably won't come to any good, and just use them up in your cooking straight away. Right. These are all a good size actually. Excellent, let's crack on. So I've got a cane here just for guidance to get them nice and straight. So which side up do you plant them? You want the pointy end facing up, and you want about 1 inch of soil or 3 centimetres above the point of the tip. So they're actually buried down, they're not sitting at the surface. This has been dug, so I'm just going to pop them straight in like that, and in they go. And I'm just using my fingers here as a guide. You want them between about 4 and say 6 inches, that's 10 to 15 centimetres apart. And then subsequent rows are about 30 centimetres or 1 foot distant. That's it for that row. Move that along, it's about 1 foot. I'm growing 3 varieties of soft necks, so they're not all going out, but if you're planting them next to each other, don't forget to label them whatever you do, because if there's one that you're trying that's new and you really like it, then you'll want to make sure you know what it is for next growing season. There we go, that's all done. I'm going to give them a lovely water and then get on and plant the next lots. Now, obviously you can plant them into pots too. Just use a general all-purpose potting mix for this and plant them at exactly the same depth. So there's about 1 inch or 2 to 3 centimetres of potting mix above each clove. A pot this size, I'd reckon to plant, say, 3 cloves. Garlic really doesn't like wet, saturated soil or potting mix. So once you're done, give it a good water, but raise these onto pot feet so that the water can drain freely out of the bottom. With your garlic in the ground, all that's left to do really is wait. You might see short stubby shoots before winter, you might not, but what matters is what's going on underneath, where the roots will be forming to anchor themselves into position, ready to grow away come spring. Garlic has very thin strappy leaves once they get going, so it is important to keep on top of weeds, and hand weeding is the only way to do it to avoid damaging the delicate shallow roots. Then when spring arrives and warmer weather's here, you'll need to keep on top of watering, and watering is important so that the bulbs can properly swell. Hardneck varieties will produce those flower stalks called scapes that I mentioned earlier. Now, once you see those, it's quite exciting because they usually come about 2 to 3 weeks before it's time to harvest, so you know you haven't got long to wait. Do cut them off though. They're great steamed, they're great in pestos, many uses, and they effectively give 2 crops for the effort of 1. It is important you remove them because by doing that you concentrate the bulb's energy into swelling and you'll get up to a 50% bigger bulb with the scapes removed. Rust can be a problem with outdoor garlic in wetter climates. There's not much you can do about it, but planting at the correct spacing to ensure good airflow and making sure you're meticulous in cleaning up all the debris from the previous crop will help. So how to know when your garlic is ready to harvest? Well, the leaves should start to turn yellow. If you're in doubt, just dig down a bit and feel the bulb. You should be able to clearly discern the individual cloves. When it comes to lifting them up, get a hand fork underneath the bulb and lift it up very carefully. You don't want to bruise it because that will really shorten the length of time it will store for. Lie them out in the sunshine to dry out, and if it starts raining, bring them indoors somewhere airy to continue drying out. This will take about up to a month actually, and the leaves will die back completely in this time. You can then cut the leaves off to leave a bit of a stalk, or use the leaves to help weave in the garlic to form a garlic string. You can also harvest garlic a little bit earlier to use fresh as wet garlic. It has a much milder taste and can be used in salads and eaten raw that way. The dry garlic should store very well in a cool room temperature. Airflow is important. Nets are great. Even better, and because it looks great too, is to weave them into that garlic string or just to hang them up in clusters, hanging from rafters, say. Garlic comes with a long list of health boosting credentials. We're talking antioxidants, a shed load of vitamins and minerals such as magnesium, calcium, zinc, selenium. This little bulb here is a powerhouse of goodness. Perhaps that's why I eat so much. What's your favourite type of garlic? Oh, and do you have any garlic loaded recipes you'd be willing to share? Please do share them in the comments below. Thanks very much for watching. Do pop this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Show us some love back and share all this wealth of knowledge about growing your own delicious and healthy food. Now, if you love garlic, you'll love this playlist on growing garlic, onions and leeks. There's lots in there to enjoy. I'll catch you next time.